Hello, how you doing? It's Phil Thatch, and today I want to talk a little bit about the Nikon or Nikkor 180 to 600 f5.6 to 6.3 Z mount super telephoto zoom lens. This lens was announced in mid-summer of 2023, and it came out about a month after that, and it was priced at $16.99. And I got one fairly quickly. I didn't get one immediately, but I got one fairly quickly, and all the reviews about it have been really good, and I've very much enjoyed using it. I bought this lens even though I didn't have a great Nikon Z mount camera to put it with. I used it with my old first generation Z6, and I used it with my Z50, and I was really happy with the results I was getting, even with those maybe slightly subpar cameras. And you know, my thought was one day they're going to make a Z70 or a Z90, and it's going to be an awesome APS-C camera, and it's going to be amazing with this lens. Well, now we are in, as I record this, we're in August of 2024. The video probably won't come out until September of 24, but they have increased the price. The lens was originally priced at an amazing bargain of $16.99. And in August of 24, they raised the price in the United States by $200 to $18.99. And I thought I would talk today about whether or not I think this lens is still worth it at the new price in 2024. So if you've been around the channel long, you know that I use all three brands. I use Sony and Nikon and Canon. So I have all of their super telephoto lenses, the inexpensive ones. I've got the Sony 200 to 600, which is a fantastic lens. Really like this lens, and I've enjoyed using it. The only camera I have for it is the A6700, and I really enjoyed on that. One day maybe I'll get an A1 or maybe an A1 II or maybe a Z9 III, who knows. But even on the A6700, this lens is dynamite. I have the super small and very, very sharp Canon 100 to 500 lens, which I just love this lens. As a matter of fact, if this lens just went to 600 millimeters instead of only 500 millimeters, it might be my favorite telephoto zoom lens. But for birding, especially birding on full frame, it's just a little bit short. I have Canon's new 200 to 800 lens, which is a 6.3 to f9 lens, and man, this thing's got plenty of length that the 100 to 500 is missing. But what this lens is missing is sharpness. It's just not as sharp as the other three lenses that I've been talking about in this video. You can get some good results with it if you stop it down to f10, maybe shoot a little bit less than 800 millimeters. It does acceptably well, but when you compare it to the other lenses, which you can shoot at their maximum focal length and wide open and get great results, this one kind of lags behind. But let's talk about the prices, because this video is kind of about the price increase on the 180 to 600. The lens that's been around the longest is this Sony lens, and it is $1,999. I got lucky and caught it on sale when I bought mine and got it for $18.99, but the regular price is $19.99. And I think that that's right on the money. That's exactly where a great first party telephoto zoom lens ought to be. That's kind of how I judge the pricing on all the other ones, is because, you know, Sony was the first one to have this lens. Nikon had a 200 to 500 years back, but it's not a mirrorless lens. All these other lenses that we're talking about are mirrorless lenses, and this was the first one of this variety. So $19.99, that's kind of what one of these lenses should cost, in my opinion. This lens, the 100 to 500, it kind of competes with these lenses. It also competes with the premium 100 to 400 lenses, and it kind of, because of that, in my opinion, it's better than all the 100 to 400 lenses from all the manufacturers, because it's super sharp, super small, and you've got an extra 100 millimeters compared to those lenses. I bought this lens for $26.99, and then they raised the price of it to $28.99. Of course, right now, as I'm making this video, it's on sale for $200 off. It's on sale for what was the regular price when I bought it of $26.99. And again, it kind of competes with these other three lenses, but it's also kind of competing with the 100 to 400 lenses that it blows away. So even though this price is high, the lenses it competes with that aren't these 600 millimeter and longer lenses, it's in line with those. So it's probably overpriced. Maybe all those lenses are overpriced, but I just love it because it's so small and light and still sharp and pretty long at 500 millimeters. As a matter of fact, when Heather and I go to Canada, we may actually be in Canada or about to leave for Canada when this video comes out. I'm taking Canon because this lens will be the easiest to pack and take on an airplane. The 100 to 500 is pretty awesome. The 200 to 800 is priced well. I like the price of this. It's $18.99, and even though it's kind of slow with a f9 maximum aperture, if you could shoot this thing wide open and it was sharp wide open, this would be awesome. But because it's kind of a compromise, you can't shoot it wide open. Really, f10 is about the only way to go. People will shoot it wide open and they'll get a sharp shot and they'll say, well, Phil's crazy. But if you want consistently sharp results, you really need to stop it down to f10. So to me, this lens might even be a little overpriced. At $18.99, there's just so many compromises with this lens. I think it ought to be a little bit cheaper. $16.99, maybe even $15.99 would be better for this lens. Although it does go to 800 millimeters, but how useful is it once you get there? So now that we know that the cheapest of the other three lenses that I'm comparing to this is the same price as the new price increase, this thing's still a steal. Because at $18.99, it's still tied for the cheapest of these lenses. And when I did a comparison test of all these lenses, this is the winner. This lens came out on top. So, you know, we've had a lot of inflation during the year that this lens has been available, and I think raising the price to where it competes with the cheapest and nowhere near as good of the rest of the lenses in this test, it just makes sense. I'm glad that I got mine when it was at its initial price of $16.99, but if I didn't have one yet and I was in the market for a lens of this variety, $18.99 would be a bargain and still probably the best deal of these four lenses, in my opinion. The Nikon 180 to 600 f5.6 to 6.3 VR, still worth it in 2024 at its new price. Thanks for watching. If you like the content, give me a thumbs up. You want to see some more stuff like this, subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye-bye.